Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to BBB Serving Connecticut's next installment of our COVID-19 webinar series. Today's title is Workers Without Borders. My name is Luke Fry. I'm the Associate Director of Communication for BBB Serving Connecticut, and I will be moderating today. We also have Joni Green, who is going to be helping out with our Q&A later in the broadcast. Just a reminder to everybody, you are in mute, so if you have any questions, please feel free to type them in the questions box, and we will try to cover them all during our Q&A. Unfortunately, if you have called in to today's broadcast, you will not be able to ask any questions at this time. Also, today's PowerPoint is available to download, so if you are using your computer for the call, you can go over to the Handouts tab and download today's slide deck. If you have to leave today's broadcast for any reason, something comes up, all participants will be receiving an email with a link to today's full video of the broadcast as well. So as our series continues, we invited a representative from We Care Computers on today's webinar to talk to us about business technology and new tools that you can use while you work from home. I'm sure everybody here has been spending an increasingly amount of more time at home on your own computers or on work computers, since many or all of us are not able to go into our actual offices. So business technology is a great topic to talk about right now. And with that being said, today's speaker is Zach Coffey. He is the Manager of IT Services at We Care Computers. And Zach, thank you so much for joining us today. We are glad to have you here. And for the time being, I'm actually going to turn things over to you, and then we can do some Q&A after you're all done.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Luke. As you had said, my name is Zach Coffey from We Care Computers in West Hartford, Connecticut. So today's, our topic today, as you said, Workers Without Borders. As we've kind of gone through these changing times, we've all kind of had the need to adapt and change our work processes and just be able to optimize these things in order to keep going through our business as best we can. As we've gone through these times, we've had stay-at-home orders. Some people have shut down businesses ahead of time just to kind of help, reduce the effectiveness or reduce the problems that we have as a result of these times. So just to go over also who we are. So as I said, we're We Care Computers. Company was started in 2004 by Avi Smith Rappaport. Quickly moved into our office location where we've been now for quite some time now, about 12 years now. On Albany Ave in West Hartford, Connecticut. Now we're serving hundreds of clients throughout Connecticut, just doing computer repair, managed business support, basically anything that a business would need during their day-to-day business for IT, phone needs, new builds, pretty much anything that you could really need. Next slide. And just to mention one thing that we're also doing, just because we've had such a great response from this, we try to get as much publicity for it as possible since it's a great program. Recently started our Students in Need program for We Care Computers, where we're donating computers to needy children in the area as people are needing to continue their education from home. We have a lot of people that aren't actually able to do so. They don't have the technology. In 2018, there's a study basically saying that 1 in 4 people in a lower income household didn't have the access to a computer that they needed. And now it's become even more vital during these times where everyone has to basically continue their education from home. In the past couple of weeks, we've placed almost 24 machines, have requests for almost over 50 more. A lot of local schools, organizations, correct schools, things like that. We do have a GoFundMe that's going to be starting up very shortly, and also taking working donations of desktop, laptops, pretty much any technology that you have that we can donate. There's information on our social media page for that as well. Next slide. So as we had said, basically during these times, we've seen such a huge increase of remote workers, people needing to work from home, people that weren't doing so previously. Just businesses have changed immensely. You find a lot of companies needing to put in money into their infrastructure in order to be able to have employees work from home. Before these events, there were about 5 million people, U.S. employees, spending 50% or more of their time working from home. Now, the estimate from an MIT study done recently is actually about 34% of the U.S. population is now working from home, compared to this 3.4% of that 5 million. So we're practically tenfold of what we had previously. Overall, we estimate that about $44 billion is saved by employees who offer some part of work at home opportunity, whether it be from just a reduction of sick days, people have a better work-life balance, they don't find the need to take days off for certain things, just the reduction of actual physical office space that they have, really overall just a lot of cost savings for these. You find that also 16% of companies are offering exclusively work at home employment. So none of their staff has an actual in-house office staff, and everyone is working from home. Next slide. So as people start to work from home, we just want to give some tips of kind of how we're doing things, how you can kind of better build that ability to work at home, to be productive, to be able to get things done in hopefully the same fashion, if not even better than when you were working in a physical workspace. One of the most important things that I find is to actually set up something that is a workspace for you. Just because you have a space to work, you have a breakfast nook that you're working on, or a coffee table in your living room somewhere, it's not necessarily going to feel like a workspace and feel like somewhere that you're going to be productive and be able to keep your mind focused on things. Having distractions all around you are really going to take away from that productivity and being able to get things done to make working at home effective. You want to make sure that you have comfort, and this comfort, like I said, isn't just a comfortable spot on the couch. Something where you have an actual desk set up to have your space laid out, you have room for all of your necessary needs, someone that's going to be quiet, someone that's going to be very calming for you, that you can focus and really just get things done. Next slide. To show you an example, this is actually my desk at home here, photoshopped into where I would like to be now on a nice beach, but unfortunately, as we know, travel's pretty much shut down. But we have all the things that I use to get the job done. Next slide. So here we have, you see I have my laptop. Some people have a desktop they work from. I have 2 monitors. I've always recommended, if you have a laptop, to have a secondary monitor with a docking station that you can easily plug in and plug out from. So that way it makes your transition going from a laptop mobile environment to sitting down at your desk that much easier. You have 1 or 2 cords, whether it be a USB and a power cord, or if it's some newer laptops, just a single USB. And gives you the opportunity to have all these features plugged in without having to mess around with cords and keep things nice and clean. So you see I have the 2 monitors on a mount, so that way they're nice and not taking up table space. There's plenty of room for me to have my external mouse and keyboard that you see as well. Having proper lighting in your area, so that way you're not working in just some corner of your basement or something that's not well suited for this. You're spending a lot of time in this environment, and you want to make sure it's comfortable for you to see things and for you to have that bright mentality. You want to also make sure you have some comfortable seating, hydration, music, also very important. And then I have my small slinky, which I find is just to be a nice stress reliever, stress relief ball, something along those lines. Just because you're at home doesn't mean you're not going to have a stressful work day some days. Next slide. So while you're doing these types of things, it's important to build the mentality that you are still going to work, that basically no matter what you do, you're still going to be mentally productive, focus on what you're trying to do. It's very easy to get caught up and say, I have lawn work I need to get done today, or that I want to get done today. I have laundry I want to get done, doing all these things in between things. It's hard to maintain that focus on things. So you want to build habits. You want to maintain a schedule and create a routine that builds those productive habits. Things like getting up in the morning. If you're a coffee drinker, make coffee at the same time. Spend your time reading the newspaper, looking through news, doing whatever it is that you normally do in your day before you normally go into the actual office. This helps get you in that mind state that you're ready to go and ready to start working, and you're focusing on this part of your day at this time. On that same note, you want to make sure you're also getting dressed. So staying, getting out of your PJs, getting into, a more comfortable attire, something that you would wear. You don't have to get dressed up in a suit or anything, but just something to get out of that lounging around the house mentality. It's important to breathe. You want to make sure that you're also taking breaks as you would during the normal workday. Go outside for a couple of minutes, take a quick walk around your neighborhood, around the house, get some sunshine. You want to make sure you remember the 20-20-20 rule. If you don't know what that is, basically saying that every 20 minutes of looking at your computer screen, something up close, you want to take 20 seconds to look at something 20 feet away. So take a look out the window, focus on something for 20 seconds, helps your eyes adjust and helps avoid headaches, helps avoid the strain of looking at a computer screen all day, which we may do in the office already, but it's still important to make sure that we're mentally just not wearing ourselves out. One of the also very important things is also just to stay connected. You want to make sure you're keeping up contact virtually with others in the office, just making sure that you're connecting constantly to maintain collaboration, sharing ideas, keeping things fresh, gives you the opportunity to bounce ideas off of people, doing things such as video chat, doing things such as maybe a work happy hour, things like that, where you have a virtual video chat at the end of the week, something that we do in our company as well that I think has been very beneficial to keeping the team together, even though we're all separated. Next slide. So as people begin to work more and more from home, I think we'll see a big change where companies that that didn't previously have workers working from home are going to see it as an opportunity. If people are putting out the same productive numbers that they were previously, there's not as much disadvantage to having workers working from home. So we're going to see people that have put money into infrastructure to allow people to work at home, possibly keep that and be able to have people working at home on a more regular basis. So, but we want to see how do we do that? How do we stay productive, make sure our employees stay productive? How do we allow that constant communication, sharing files, really a big piece? How do we make sure everyone has the same access to the same resources that they did in office? And how do we make sure people are staying safe online? People are at home, so they're probably more likely to possibly go on Facebook or social media, go on some unproductive website. There is a benefit to that, as I said, as part of that taking breaks piece, where just being able to relax your mind for a few minutes gives you that ability to kind of step out and then step back in fresh. But we want to make sure people are balancing that. So you guys, next slide. So some of the things that we have used in the past, we've recommended to people, whether it be on a personal level for keeping yourself productive or making sure your employees stay productive. So there's a couple of tools. Stay Focused and Forest are similar ones. They're plugins to popular web browsers, Chrome, Firefox, Safari, things like that, that allow you to set limits on certain types of websites, for instance. So if you say, I want to be able to dedicate 15 minutes of time to Facebook, but not go over that, it sets a border, it sets a limit on that, and basically it doesn't allow you to access after a certain amount of time. So you can spend 5 minutes here, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes here across the day, and you have a certain time limit that you've dedicated for that. Forest is very similar in the same way, but gives a little more of a cuteness to it, I guess. Basically what it does is you plant a tree, and the productive things that you do help that tree to grow. So it gives you something to physically see something happen, so you can see your productivity help grow a virtual tree. Active Track is a tool that allows companies to keep an eye on what their employees are doing during the day on their work laptop. So there are different statistics where we'll show you the amount of time spent on certain websites. It'll give you things such as a screenshot of what they're doing on certain times. You can do a lot of different features just to make sure your employees are staying on track with things. Very low cost for that as well, and the other ones are free. Next slide. So one of the things that I want to also go over as far as not only just the tools, the physical tools that we use for things, but also the more intangible ones, the ones that we're using digitally, the things that give us access to the tools that we need to allow us to collaborate, to allow us to share and communicate with each other when we're working remotely. A lot of offices have a on-site server or have on-site resources that aren't accessible remotely, and you have to stay tethered to that physical location in order to use them. We've seen a lot of companies going to cloud resources just so that way they have access to these things wherever they are. Cloud-based file sharing platforms, cloud-based email platforms, applications, so that way your practice management software or your PSA software is all in the cloud. You don't have to be in the office or have some VPN that you have to maintain to get into it. Also allows you to access things from whatever device you need, and gives you some more reliability and safety as well. Next slide. So one of the most important things that we find for a remote worker is that they have reliable internet. There are kind of two sections to that. The internet, which is the external internet coming in from your provider. In the area we have Xfinity, Frontier, Cox is actually another one that's very popular in the area. Depending on what city you're in, what town you're in, you may have one or the other, or none of them. GoNet is a new company that's recently been coming into the area, who is they're laying down a lot of fiber optic networks for people and giving you a lot of really good speed. Something that we've recently switched to as well. That's been a great help for us, giving us reliable upload and download speed. If you don't have an internet connection, you're not going to be able to work remotely. You're not going to be able to send files back and forth, make those video chats, send those emails. It's just going to cut you off and cut off productivity and allow you not to do anything. Internally, we have our intranet, basically your internal network. So you want to make sure that you've eliminated any problems in your network. If you have spotty Wi-Fi connection, if you have a router or modem that cuts out your connection every once in a while, and it's not something that's reliable for you, you want to make sure you get those pieces out there, because it's going to cause an increased amount of frustration more than it has in the past as you're sitting at your computer for 6 to 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day doing what you need to do. So making sure that you have those pieces in place and that they're set up correctly, they're set up securely, is going to make all of the world of difference to you. Next slide. As I mentioned, with some of the tools that we use to communicate in our offices, we all, for the most part, a lot of companies live and die by email. It's one of the most important pieces of connection that we have, just to be able to keep track of communication, being able to send things out, attachments, get responses back from people, forms, anything you need. Generally, email is a huge piece of what we do. If our email went down, we would not be able to continue working until it was back up for the most part. So what we use for our email is Office 365 by Microsoft. What that is, it's a cloud-based email, allows you to sync your email across all of your devices. One of the things that a lot of other email platforms don't have, unless they're either Office 365 or a Microsoft-backed product, is that they don't have the ability to sync all of your folders, your contacts, your calendars. We have a lot of people that working in businesses will see that use a Comcast email or an old AOL email or a Yahoo email, and you find that they have their emails, but they're not syncing their contacts, their calendars, and they're really losing a lot of their functionality of their operation. So Office 365, you have the ability to sync pretty much everything. So all of your flags on emails you use in Outlook, all of your tasks that you use, just being able to see everything on your phone, on your laptop, your desktop, no matter where it is, without having to do any advanced configuration of things. Another piece that it has there is also Microsoft Teams. Actually, it's Microsoft Teams, which is the basically the instant message communication tool. Some people may have used Slack, Hangouts is another one by Google. There's a lot of different tools out there. We prefer Microsoft Teams. It's a piece that just works smoothly with all of Office, integrates all of your conversations back into Outlook. So any of the conversations you have, you can go back and view a history of them in Microsoft Outlook on any of your devices. Allows you the ability to do video chat, team chat, calls, sharing files back and forth through instant message, a lot of different capabilities in there. You also get widespread integration across a lot of different platforms. So it's pretty rare you find a product that does not work with Office 365, especially now as Office 365 has really become such a giant in the industry. You also get the first party support and reliability of a company like Microsoft backing it. Next slide. One of the more recent changes we've made is we went from another provider, VoIP provider, so a voice over internet phone, who had a box that was tied to the office. So in traditional sense, a lot of companies in the past have had phones that are tied to the office. So you can't take your phone, bring it back to your house, have the same phone number there, and continue work. We've recently partnered with RingCentral. They offer a product that allows you to disconnect your VoIP phone, take it no matter where you have internet and power, and plug it in. In addition to that, they also have soft phones for pretty much any device you can have out there, Windows, Apple, or Android. Allows you to pick up your cell phone, dial a number, and call out as your office number. So instead of having to have people get your personal cell phone number, your house number, anything like that, you get to maintain that same number across all of your devices, and also separates those calls from your personal device. So by having a soft phone, there's a separate app that you see calls. So you're not going to be getting things confused, thinking somebody's calling your personal phone or calling your work phone and answering differently or just messing things up. You also have the opportunity of manual automatic call recording. One of the things that a lot of call centers will use is just the ability to have those automatic calls. So you're calling on a recorded line, so you can go back, you can check to see the interactions of your employees with your clients and just make sure things are really running smoothly. And we found this RingCentral to be an absolutely great provider, cost effective, and the features that we have, the ability to take these phones back to our homes and be able to answer them here, has been absolutely life-saving during this time. Just being able to continue having the office coordinator picking up calls, transferring calls to our technicians, just allows a smooth, seamless operation. Next slide. With the digital lifestyle that we've kind of built around our workaround, we've gone, a lot of places gone from paper to digital file access instead. It makes a lot of sense not having to have paper copies of everything, stacking file cabinets. You have the ability to share and change these documents as much as you want. We use a product called Ignite, which is a cloud file sharing platform. You may be familiar with other ones such as Google Drive, Microsoft OneDrive, Dropbox. There's a bunch of them out there. The reason that we choose Ignite is because it's a business-only platform. They didn't start off by having a residential consumer-grade Dropbox and then make changes to become a business product. They've always focused on business products and the security and the reliability, the tracking features that are in there, the ability to assign tasks to people, really focuses around how businesses need to operate. So with this, you have basically a program that gets installed on whatever device you have, your cell phone, your laptop, your tablet, and it allows you to view these files as if they were local on your computer. So anywhere you have internet access, you're able to view all of the files within your cloud file sharing structure. Whereas a lot of other products, you have to actually download those files to your computer in order to actually open them. And if you don't have them there, you have to actually go on the internet to access them through a web page. This offers ability to do that without having to take up space on your computer. If you do feel the need that you're going to have say you're going on an airplane, you're going to somewhere you're not going to have internet access, you still need to get some work done. It does have the ability to do offline file access. With that, basically what you would do is you mark a file for offline. If you were to lose internet access, make changes to that file. It saves those changes locally. As soon as you have internet access again, it syncs those files back up to the cloud, allowing all the other people to have access to these changes. If in that time you have somebody that changed the file, that same file that did have access, you'll get a warning saying there's a conflict between these things. Basically, we need to make adjustments to it, and gives you the easy ability to do so. It gives you the ability to make secure file requests from your clients. So if you have a legal document you need to sign, personal health information, really any number of things, you can just send that file blank to them and give them an upload link to send back. It gives you granular user permissions, audit reports, full grade encryption, really all the things you need to have HIPAA or SEC compliance. They're compliant with pretty much everything that we look at. Next slide. On top of file access, phone access, communication, all those things, there are going to be some cases where those just aren't going to cut it. There are going to be some offices that have an application that just does not have a cloud available option to replace it. So in those cases, what we look to do is use a remote access tool. We've used Splashtop in the past year. Basically what it is, it's an agent that gets installed on an office computer. So you have your desktop or laptop physically in the office, and you would come back to your house to use your desktop or laptop at home to remote into that computer. At that point, you're accessing the full keyboard, mouse, the monitor, being able to see everything that's on that screen and being able to control it with your home computer. So you're able to have whatever resources you have. If you have an in-house QuickBooks, for instance, or you have some in-house access databases or some management software that doesn't have a cloud piece to it, still have the option to have these in there. The downside to this is that you, of course, have to have a physical machine in the office still that has network access to those devices. There are VPNs and other ways around that, but this gives you that ability there. Much more cost-effective, very easily deployed, and just really gives you access to the printers, to anything you have in your office. Next slide. As we have our increased activity, we're also going to have increased threats. We're going to have people that are malicious out there trying to get you to click on things, trying to send you ransomware attachments, trying to just basically cause malicious activity to anyone they can, just because they can, or because they're trying to make money, trying to get information, doing any number of things. So we want to remind you that you want to be aware of what you're clicking. You want to make sure before you're clicking on a link that somebody sent you, before you're going into putting in your credentials into anything, that you're looking at web addresses that you go to, you're looking at the link it goes to by moving the mouse over it and seeing what comes up. If you hover over a link, it'll generally show you what that link actually points to. Another way, so if you have somebody sends you a link to Microsoft Office 365, but the website itself is not office365.com, you know it's not going to be something legitimate. You want to make sure that you're double checking attachments. There's been a huge increase of malware during these times, a huge increase of ransomware. People understand that people are working from home. They don't have their usual antivirus things in place that they might in the office. So they're looking for new ways to try to infect your system, try to get into things, and to once again cause mischief. You want to make sure that you're staying up to date. If you get messages for Windows to do its updates, you generally want to do those. There are going to be some problems every once in a while if Microsoft puts out a faulty update, but 99% of the time, it's going to be much more beneficial to make sure that you're up to date than just putting those updates to the back end. I would say more importantly than almost anything is to make sure that you back up your important files. And don't just do it once, do it twice. Because if you have an on-site backup that you have and something happens physical at that location, you're still out of files. So what we recommend is having a 3-point backup system. having your active data that you're working on, having a cloud backup, and also having a local backup. Something with a cloud backup that's a managed backup, where an IT company like us is checking to make sure these backups are run and that they're being run properly each day, is going to be beneficial to making sure that you're staying secure. Even if something happens, you have something to go back on. And next slide. And then lastly, you want to make sure you have somebody you can call. Make sure that you have somebody that you can trust. There's a lot of fake IT companies out online, or people saying that they're an IT company and that you have a virus. It's one of the most common ways that we see people calling us for issues like that, is that they have some scareware online that they think is something serious, but it's really just somebody saying that they have a virus. Call this number so you can let us into your computer and we can start causing mischief. So if you need anything as far as support, even if you have just a simple question, our information's here. We're always available. And just make sure that you're staying safe out there, and that's we're all working together to try to get through these times. And I think once companies realize how effective people can still be working from home, we'll see some more changes in these things as well, and it'll kind of continue. So, thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Zach. I am going to turn things over to Joni. If there's any questions, I didn't see any currently in the chat box, but I just want to check in with her. In the meantime, Zach, though, I'm so glad you brought up scams and how there is increased activity in scams now that there's an increase of activity of people who are at home working, who could get easily confused, all those pop-ups about updates to your computer. And again, a great tip of hovering over any link sent to you that you're asked to go to, any attachment sent to you, kind of making sure it's from the person you think it is, because these small things really do put a company and a business at risk. Even if one employee, ends up making that bad choice, I guess I can say, of not making sure that link is taking them to a legit site, or that attachment is actually from a employee at their company, is always extremely important, especially now. And I also loved those softwares you talked about that sort of help you stay on track. I have not heard of those, so I will definitely have to check a couple of those out in the future. So Joni, are there any questions right now?
None so far.
Okay, if not, Zach, are there any other topics you'd like to touch on, or any other points kind of that you left out possibly today? Because we do have a little bit of extra time. If not, that's okay, but I just wanted to open up the floor to you.
Yeah, so I can touch back just on a couple of really quick tips as far as the threats that you mentioned. Just to once again make sure that you're double checking everything before you click it, before you download it and open it. With the note of scareware, one thing to keep in mind is that companies like Microsoft and Google, Apple, they're not going to call you if you have a problem. You have to call them. They're way too big to be worried about one little individual person or one smaller company, because they have so many things going on. So one of the most common things that we see is that somebody says, oh, somebody called me, Microsoft called me, told me I have a virus on my computer, I need to check things out. They get a pop-up on the computer saying that they need to check things out. Those are just some of the most common ways that we see people getting scammed by things, and just double checking those numbers. People will see there's a call text Microsoft tech support here. Once again, the way if you got a call from a credit card company saying that we have an alert on your credit card, I wouldn't necessarily call back the number that got left. I would go on CitiCard or Chase or American Express and look for their support number on their website. Call that number back. So that way you have a verified way of knowing that's a legitimate number that you called. It's just a good way to eliminate some of those threats that you're seeing online.
Yeah, that's a great tip too. And then also you talking about, all of those cold calls of, hey, Apple called me or hey, Microsoft called me. One, they aren't going to do that. And two, we've also seen, texts come through to people. So they get a text from Apple saying your Apple ID is hacked. You have to call back. Like you said, trying to find Apple's number or Microsoft's number online so that you know that you're actually calling back that legitimate company and not necessarily using that number told to you by a potential scammer is also a great, extra tip and layer of protection to prevent you from being scammed by any of these sort of tech support scams. All right, I don't see any other questions currently. Zach, thank you so much. You covered a lot, and I think your PowerPoint, again, has a lot of great ideas for softwares that people can kind of check out who are working at home, maybe have a small business or are even a business of one person and have to, keep on track. So thank you. I appreciate it for taking time today to join us. If you are calling in today, you can also follow BBB on social media for any other announcements of our future topics. And I hope you all have a great rest of your afternoon. Thanks again to Zach, and have a great day, everyone.